This is the very picturesque Lake Fyans caravan park, and that is Lake Fyans just over there in the background with the grampians. It is quite spectacular scenery. However, we're here for the fishing. While we've got some beautiful waterfront accommodation for the next 24 hours, it's that lake that gets me excited. The weather here this afternoon is really ordinary, and there's a huge front that's pouring through. It's going to pour rain and blow like nothing else. So we're going to unload the car, dump the boat, shoot into stall, and then catch up with my good mate Shane Young, who owns a local sports power there. And he goes, Lee, I'm going to draw you a mud map that is pretty well idiot proof that even I can work it out. So let's get into town, get that sussed out, and tomorrow morning we're chasing, hopefully, some beautiful big redfin. Shane?
Lee, how you going, mate?
Very well, mate.
Good.
No dramas finding you. Now, you said you've got a map for me.
Yeah. Yep.
That is a pretty good map.
Yeah.
That is Lake Fyans, and mate, let me tell you, a very different looking piece of water to what I thought when I pulled up at the caravan park.
It's good water though.
Yes.
Really good water.
So they tell me, or so you tell me, full of big redfin.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, obviously, the highlighted areas are where I'm going to go.
Yep. Those 4 spots there.
Yep.
Very good. Been really good the last couple of months. About 2 to 3 metres of water and fished hard on the bottom.
Okay. And what's the best lures if you had to pick
Plastics,
two?
4-inch plastics and just vibes, bibless vibes.
Beautiful. And so all reeds and snags and weed beds and
You've got everything out there.
just fish everything?
Yes, fish everything.
All right.
Yeah.
There's heaps of great fishing tackle in here. And although I own a tackle store and I have far too much fishing tackle, there's still always something you got to buy.
Yeah.
Let's go find something.
Yeah.
It is deathly cold this morning. However, the weather's broken, but our beautiful high pressure system that was coming through has now been pushed down. I think we're going to have about half a day of good weather, and then another front is going to roll through. In fact, there is a big cloud bank down to the south there. This is Lake Fyans, and I can honestly say I've got my mud map that I got from Shane. It's a cracker, but I've never been here before. It really is a bit like flying blind. I've got these areas to fish, but as we look around, you can see there's reeds and snags, and underneath us just big healthy weed beds. So for now, I'm going to put the electric in, and we're really going to go searching, because that's what it's all about, because this lake has some beautiful big redfin, and it's just a matter of finding them in amongst their hidey holes. As you can see, I've got 3 rods rigged. I'm not going to be using them all at once. I'll only be using one at a time. But having 3 rods set up enables me to quickly switch outfits when I need to. The first, and probably the one I'll use the most, is this one here. It's got one of the new Storm So-Run spike tail plastics on it. Looks just like a bait fish, and this is rigged Texas style. It's got the bullet weight, the worm hook, and it's dynamite for fishing in this weed. I'll show you a little more about this later on. On the other 2 outfits, I've got my hard bodies. My lipless crankbait, my little 5cm rip and wrap, which I just love. I've gone for that browny orange colour because the boys tell me locally that the brown and the pumpkin seed colour plastics have been dynamite. So that's a pretty good sort of imitation. The single hooks are great for fishing in the weed. And then finally, we've got just a shad wrap hard body. Casting these guys around can be absolutely dynamite. It's going to run 4 to 6 feet deep. I can slow roll it across the top of the weed beds. And as you can see there, that looks just like a baby perch. And perch love to eat perch. So that's a really good option. This enables me to swap outfits as I need and as I choose. it's always interesting fishing a new location, and I've never fished Lake Fyans before. And just by searching around, it doesn't take long to work out the bottom makeup of this place. It's a very shallow lake, it's only small. It probably averages between 2 and 3.5 meters in depth, but what makes it such a fish haven is that everywhere you go, sure, there's structure like trees and reeds and things, but the bottom is just covered in this big healthy weed bed that's anything from, you know, a couple of inches thick to well up over 1.5 meters thick. And fishing in this area, it's really just a case of searching. We're going to drift down through stretches, and you're going to be working your lure over and through the pockets of weed. There's big stands of it and then little short bits, and you're going to hop your lure through this. You get weed and stuff on the hooks, but it's all part of it. And it's interesting, we're not really sounding up the fish because they're going to be hiding in the weed, and also they probably don't really like the boat going over the top of them. Right now we're in 2.7 meters of water, and there is 1 meter of weed, so we're really fishing 1.7 meters of water. It's an interesting place, full of food and full of big redfin. Let me tell you, this has taken a lot of casts this morning. With that barometer coming up, I thought it's all going to happen really quick. We're going to nail a few fish, but I don't know, it's getting colder and cloudier and windier. But if there's one tip I can give you, you always stay confident. I reckon I've said to myself 50 or 60 times this morning, this cast is going to be the one. I think this guy's got me in a bit of weed here. I don't want to pull too hard because the bite was really, really gentle. Really gentle. All right, I'm just going to anchor us. When I say anchor, I just press that little anchor button on the remote, and that motor guide now uses GPS to hold the boat in position. The motor will spin and turn and speed up and slow down as it needs to make it work. Oh, that is a beautiful fish. What a cracking redfin. Wowee. What a fish. That is a whopper. And the local said to me, Lee, Lake Fyans is known for big redfin. My good mate Chris Spence, he's mentioned it to me many, many times. Chris lives in Horsham, and he said, Lee, you want a reddy? You go to Lake Fyans, it is the place. And look at that. That is just, we talk about world-class fish. They're known as redfin and English perch because they catch them through Europe, hence the name English perch. But to catch a fish of that size, it is world class. Look at the shoulders, look at the head, and if I roll this fatty upside down, look at that for a stomach and those beautiful big red fins. And I'll show you something right here. We've got a heavy weed bed, and that's what I've been plugging over. I've moved out of the timber, and I've worked out through doing a few drifts that there's no weed in there. There's very little weed out there, and right here there's a beautiful big long weed bed, and I've just been drifting over it and over it. And I had not long ago changed lures. I went from the brown little rip and wrap to this chromy gold coloured one, and this guy has just walloped it. And I tell you what, I knew it was a good fish, but I didn't think it was this big. And there you go, tiny little lipless crankbait there, bit of weed on it. The single hooks, too good. And my little 2 to 4 kilo Imperium is just the perfect outfit for this. A bit of 4 kilo Inferno braid and a bit of 8 pound Black Magic leader. And that is as good a start to the day as you could ever dream of. What a fish. The beauty of a small lake is that you can move around and fish a lot of area. I've been in this open water, and now it's time to head up into the timber and see if we can find some more fish. Really handy tip when you're fishing this water and you're drifting is to always fish with your drift. Cast the direction that you're going. If I cast that way, the boat's drifting away from the lure, and every time I'm trying to sink it down, the boat pulls that way, the lure's trying to go that way, and the line keeps pulling tight, which raises the lure off the bottom. This way, if I cast with my drift, I can fish a lot more slack line. That lure gets a great chance to sink down. I can watch the belly in the line, I can see the bite when it happens, and it just lets that lure work the way it needs to. Once I finish this drift, go back up and just go back down on a slightly different line. There we go. Right near the boat. Oh, it's quite funny. This water here in Fyans, it looks really dark. It probably looks dark because it's a bit cloudy, but it's actually quite clean. And this big redfin, he doesn't even know what's going on yet. And I have no doubt that I have thrown this lure in front of a bunch of fish today that haven't eaten. But as the day wears on, the sun's starting to come out, the clouds are starting to break, and the barometer's rising, which is probably one of the main factors that you would hope, fingers crossed, that these fish are going to start to feed. And because they're a bit shut down, I went to one of my favourite lures, which I use a lot on the show and a lot just in general fishing, and that is the rip and wrap. And I've gone that little crawdad colour, brown and orange, and it really stands out in this sort of fresh water. Oh, look at that. That's a beautiful fish. He just spat up a bait fish. I'm not going to try and risk losing this guy. So I've got the net. That is a fish that makes the drive well worthwhile. That is an absolutely beautiful redfin. You might remember those redfin we caught with Lube and Pfeiffer in the Barossa Valley. They were in tiny water, and while they were big fish, these are big lake fish. And let me tell you, Lake Fyans is potentially one of the best redfin fisheries in the country. That is just big in every single way. It's a big fish. It is fat as mud and just an absolutely beautiful looking machine. And for a lot of people, they're a pest species. For me, I rate redfin quite highly on the catchability species. They taste great, they look awesome, and to be able to come out here and catch something like that really makes your day. That little rip and wrap right there has done the job just beautifully. That big bucket mouth, he would have sucked that right in. All right, I'm going to get the hook out of this fella, put him in the well, and get back to fishing. Feeling a bit more like a standard redfin. And when I say a standard redfin, I mean a smaller sized fish. But that doesn't matter. Mixing up the techniques is definitely working. Through this stretch of timber here, I went to the shad wrap, quite simply because the sound has shown me there's just basically a metre deep carpet of weed all through this stretch. So this lure just slow rolled back, just on a steady wind. He's perfect. It's sort of diving about 4 foot deep, running just above that weed. It only took a couple of casts for that fish to grab it. He's only small, but it's all part of it. Still a great looking little animal. I'll put him in the well. No, I'll let him go. This is my plastics casting outfit. It's my Storm Shore X rod. It's 8 foot long and it's awesome because you can cast so far and it's got a beautiful light tip. Matched with my Kuma Seamar 30 reel, 4 kilo rainbow braid. And the rig I'm using is a little bit different to traditional plastics rigs. It's called a Texas rig, a sliding weight like that and this fancy worm hook. The idea of this rig, it enables me to fish right in amongst the reeds and the snags and the weed beds and not get hooked up on all the weed and stuff that's going on. Quite simply, this works because you've got this hook with a nice kink in it. And if you get your plastic, my little Storm spike tail, just like that, and we stick the hook straight in there and we pop it out the chin like that. We slide the hook up and around and we spin it 180 degrees and that then locks that into position. That's holding the plastic and the hook together, and then from there we stick the hook through the back of the plastic. And as you can see, that hook's nicely hidden in the plastic, so it will slide through the weed, but as soon as any fish comes along, grabs the lure, That hook sticks out and you get a beautiful hookup. It enables you to fish areas that you wouldn't normally be able to fish because you'd be getting snagged far too often. It's a dynamite rig and hopefully it's going to work in here. That's got a lot of weight. A lot of weight. Not a sprinter or a fish built with a lot of speed and stamina, but the old Reddy's got the bulk, certainly in these lakes like Fyans where there's just so much food for them. They're just cruising around all day, nice and slow, eating shrimp and minnow and other redfin. I love it in fishing when you do something a little bit different. And I thought, I'm gonna give it a go American style with a Texas rig, with the sliding weight and a big worm hook. Guys like Carl Jochimson fish this way a lot in the Bass Masters in America, and it enables you to fish in heavy weed and heavy cover. But so far this rig's worked quite nicely. Oh, it's another big redfin. I'm not even going to try and lift him. Just going to pop him in the net. All right, look at that. Darker in colour, those big gold sides. That is as good a redfin as I know I could ever hope to catch. It's a beautiful big fish, and as I was saying, this Texas rigged plastic, that big worm hook, storm spike tail minnow is a bit torn up now, and that weight that just slides up and down the line like that enables the plastic to sink just that little bit slower. And on that worm hook, you can fish it in this heavy weed. You can have the hook buried in the plastic and you don't get hooked up in the weed, but when the fish grab it, you're on. That is just a beautiful, beautiful big redfin. Look at that. All right, I'm gonna pop this guy in the well. I think this weather is getting worse. There he is, got him. Beautiful. That's what I love about plastics. You get that second bite. And let me tell you, this is not the whopping big reddy that Lake Fyans is known for. However, that there is still a beautiful little redfin. Probably a more normal sized fish, and he's on one of those new storm spike tail minnows. Bit bent up there at the moment, but let me tell you, even though it's that bluey silvery colour, it still looks like one of the little bait fish minnows that would be in here. And let me tell you, I'm very happy with that to finish off the day. The weather has thrown everything at us. Sun, rain. I think we almost had some snow there for a while, but we did get a few little bits of sunshine, so it was nice. And it's what this western area is all about. Big redfin, beautiful lakes and some pretty phenomenal scenery. He's coming home with me because they're phenomenal eating. And for now, I need to get the boat on the trailer and get back to Melbourne. It is so cold up here. Back at the caravan park boat ramp here at Lake Fyans, and I'll tell you what, these big reddies are just too good to catch once. And I'm fairly sure that is a big pregnant female. I'm sure all the big fatties in here at the moment are all pregnant and females, so I'm going to do my bit and let these fish go so she can go off, lay the eggs and grow the giant redfin of Lake Fyans so you people can come and have as much fun as I have. Hopefully when you get here though, the weather will be a little bit warmer. It's freezing.